The cameras flashed like lightning, capturing the tension in the air. March 8th, 1971. Madison Square Garden buzzed with anticipation as Muhammad Ali strode into the weigh-in area, his entourage following closely behind. The fight against Joe Frazier had been brewing for years, two undefeated champions finally colliding to determine who truly deserved boxing's heavyweight crown. Ali's eyes narrowed as he scanned the room filled with reporters, boxing officials, and Frazier's team. Something felt different today. The usual pre-fight electricity had a dangerous edge. "The people's champ is here," Ali announced, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Smokin' Joe better be ready to go down." Across the room, Frazier's jaw clenched. For years, he'd endured Ali's taunts, the names Uncle Tom, Gorilla, the white man's champion. Each insult had been carefully stored away, fuel for the fire burning inside him. Today was no different. Ali continued his performance for the cameras, dancing around, predicting Frazier's downfall in rhyme. "Look at him shaking," Ali pointed. "He knows what's coming. After tomorrow, Smokin' Joe will be Broken Joe." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't just promotion anymore. The animosity between these men had become deeply personal, transcending sport and entering the realm of genuine hatred. As Ali continued his verbal assault, a man from Frazier's entourage, later identified as one of his trainers, moved forward suddenly. "Shut your mouth for once," the man shouted. Before security could intervene, he spat directly at Ali, the spittle landing on the former champion's cheek. The room froze. Ali slowly wiped his face, his playful demeanor vanishing instantly. "You'll regret that tomorrow," Ali said quietly, his voice ice-cold. "All of you will." Security rushed between the two camps as shoving began. The weigh-in quickly deteriorated into chaos, officials desperately trying to separate the fighters and their teams. Through it all, Frazier remained eerily calm, watching Ali with unblinking intensity. "Tomorrow, no more talking," Frazier said finally. "Just you and me in that ring." As Ali was escorted out, reporters swarmed, microphones thrust toward his face. But for once, Muhammad Ali, the Louisville Lip, had nothing to say. His expression told the story. The disrespect he'd just experienced had changed something. This fight had just become about more than championship belts. Before continuing, this channel exists because of you. If you're already feeling the tension in this story, subscribe now. It's quick, easy, and makes all the difference to me. The garden pulsed with 15,000 souls, each one charged with anticipation as the main event approached. The celebrities packed the ringside seats. Frank Sinatra shooting photos for Life magazine, Burt Lancaster providing color commentary, countless movie stars and musicians rubbing shoulders with politicians and gangsters. This wasn't just a boxing match. It was the sporting event of the decade. In the dressing room, Ali sat silently as his hands were taped. His usual pre-fight banter was absent, replaced by an unsettling focus. Angelo Dundee, his longtime trainer, recognized the look. It was the same expression Ali had worn before his most dangerous fights. "Remember the strategy," Dundee cautioned, breaking the silence. "Frazier's going to come at you with that left hook all night. Keep moving, stick the jab, tire him out." Ali nodded slightly, but his mind seemed elsewhere. The disrespect at the weigh-in had ignited something primal in him. As they prepared to walk to the ring, Ali finally spoke. "They think I'm still the same fighter from before my exile," he said. "They'll learn tonight." The crowd roared as Ali entered the arena, moving with his characteristic grace despite the weight of the moment. Some cheered, others booed. America was still divided on the man who had refused military service, sacrificed 3 years of his prime, and spoken boldly about racial injustice. But none could deny his magnetism. When Joe Frazier emerged, the contrast was stark. Where Ali floated, Frazier stalked. Where Ali played to the crowd, Frazier acknowledged no one, his focus laser-like on the ring and the man waiting there. His muscular frame seemed coiled with potential energy, ready to explode. The fighters met in the center for instructions. No glove touch, no acknowledgement, just cold stares as referee Arthur Mercante reviewed the rules. The bell rang, and immediately Ali established his jab, dancing around Frazier, landing quick combinations before moving away. Frazier pressed forward relentlessly, absorbing punches to deliver his own devastating hooks to Ali's body. By the fifth round, the pattern was established. Ali would dominate with speed and skill for 2 minutes, then Frazier would bull forward in the final minute, landing thudding shots that echoed through the garden. Neither man would back down. When Frazier landed, Ali would shake his head, taunt, and fire back. When Ali dazzled with combinations, Frazier would simply nod and continue his forward march. In the corner after the sixth round, Dundee worked frantically on a small cut near Ali's left eye. "You're letting him get too close," he warned. "Keep your distance." Across the ring, Eddie Futch gave Frazier ice water and simple instructions. "Keep cutting off the ring. He's slowing down. His legs are going." As the middle rounds unfolded, the momentum gradually shifted. Ali's dancing became less fluid, his combinations less frequent. Frazier's relentless pressure began taking its toll, his left hook finding Ali's jaw with increasing regularity. In the eighth round, a particularly vicious hook sent sweat spraying from Ali's head, drawing gasps from the crowd. Yet Ali refused to yield, summoning reserves of courage that transcended athletic competition. When Frazier pinned him against the ropes, Ali would fight back furiously, landing uppercuts and right hands that would have felled lesser men. Frazier absorbed these blows with an almost supernatural resilience, never taking a backward step. Between rounds, both corners became increasingly desperate. Blood and sweat mingled on towels as cutmen worked frantically. Ice packs were applied to swelling features. Through it all, neither fighter considered surrender. Too much was at stake, too many principles on the line. This had become more than a fight for the heavyweight championship. It was a battle for validation, for respect, for place in history. As the 11th round began, Ali summoned a second wind, bouncing on his toes, firing combinations that snapped Frazier's head back. For 2 minutes, he looked like the Ali of old, the man who had dazzled Sonny Liston and Cleveland Williams. The crowd rose to its feet, sensing a turning point. Then Frazier landed the left hook that would be immortalized in boxing history. A perfectly timed, perfectly placed shot that caught Ali flush on the jaw. The great champion's legs buckled, and for a moment it seemed he might fall. Somehow Ali remained standing, but something had changed. The fight's complexion had shifted irrevocably. For 3 more rounds, they waged a war of attrition that tested the limits of human endurance. Each man reached deep into reservoirs of will that few humans ever access. When the 14th round ended, both fighters were transformed by combat, faces swollen, bodies exhausted, yet spirits unbroken. As the final round began, the garden held its collective breath. History hung in the balance. 15 minutes had stretched into an eternal struggle between two champions at the absolute peak of their powers. In the final minute it happened. Another perfect left hook from Frazier found its mark. This time Ali went down. The garden erupted as the referee began his count. For 2 seconds, 3 seconds, Ali remained on the canvas. Then, in a display of heart that defined his career, he rose. Frazier pressed his advantage, hunting for the knockout, but Ali survived to hear the final bell. The unanimous decision for Frazier was almost anticlimactic after the drama that had unfolded. As Joe's hand was raised in victory, Ali stood with dignity in defeat. Their bodies had been broken in the pursuit of greatness, but their legacies were now eternally intertwined. In the dressing room, Ali sat with ice packs on his swollen jaw. Reporters gathered around him, waiting for his reaction. Would he be bitter, make excuses, demand a rematch? "That's one tough man," Ali said finally, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Joe earned it tonight, but this isn't over." Across the garden, Fraser could barely speak, his face grotesquely swollen from Ali's punches. When asked about his victory, he simply nodded. "I showed him who the real champion is." Oh, what neither man knew as they left Madison Square Garden that night, Fraser to the hospital for precautionary checks, Ali to his hotel to recover, was that they had just participated in what would be known forever after as the fight of the century. Boxing history had been written in blood, sweat, and indomitable will. After their bodies healed, they would meet twice more, in 1974 and the brutal Thriller in Manila in 1975. But nothing would match the significance of this first encounter when two undefeated champions had put everything on the line. The sun rose over New York City the morning after the fight, illuminating a changed landscape in boxing. Newspapers hit the stands with dramatic headlines capturing the epic battle. In hotel rooms across Manhattan, fight fans debated what they'd witnessed, frame by frame, round by round. At diners and barbershops, the fight would be dissected for weeks. 6 weeks after the fight, Ali sat alone in his Miami training camp, watching film of the bout for the 27th time. Each viewing revealed new insights, new mistakes, new strategies for the rematch he was already planning. The sting of defeat had transformed into something more productive, a roadmap for redemption. "Run it back," Ali instructed his assistant, who rewound the film. The projector whirred as the images flickered on the wall. Fraser ducking under a jab, Ali trapped against the ropes, the fateful left hook in the 15th round. Ali's jaw had healed, but something fundamental had changed within him. The loss had stripped away some of his youthful invincibility, replacing it with a harder, more determined edge. He now understood what many great champions only learn through defeat, that true greatness isn't defined by perfection, but by how one responds to adversity. "I needed that loss," Ali admitted to Howard Cosell in an interview 3 months after the fight. "It hurt my pride, but it opened my eyes. Joe showed me something about myself that night." Fraser, meanwhile, found that victory brought its own complications. He had reached the pinnacle of his profession, validated his claim as the world's best heavyweight, yet still lived in Ali's shadow. Despite winning their first encounter, Fraser remained the second most famous boxer in the world. His victory had made him the champion, but Ali's charisma continued to capture the public's imagination. The incident at the weigh-in, that moment of disrespect that had charged the atmosphere before the fight, was largely forgotten in public accounts, overshadowed by the fight's drama. But both men remembered. For Ali, it represented a loss of control, allowing emotions to dictate strategy. For Fraser, it symbolized years of pent-up frustration finally boiling over. When they met again 3 years later in 1974, both were changed men. Fraser had lost his title to George Foreman. Ali had rebuilt his career with wins over Norton and Bugner. Their second fight lacked the historical significance of the first, but made up for it in tactical brilliance, as Ali avenged his loss with a unanimous decision victory. Then came Manila in 1975, the brutal culmination of their trilogy, a fight so punishing that Ali would later describe it as the closest thing to dying. After 14 rounds of unimaginable punishment, Eddie Futch stopped the fight, unwilling to let his fighter absorb any more damage. Ali collapsed in exhaustion upon hearing he'd won, later admitting, "Joe Frazier, I'll tell the world right now, brings out the best in me. I'm going to tell you, that's one hell of a man." The spitting incident at Madison Square Garden had long since faded from memory, replaced by mutual respect forged in combat. Years later, when asked about that moment of disrespect before their first fight, Ali would smile ruefully. "Sometimes it takes a fight to make peace," he said. "Joe and I, we had to go through fire together before we could understand each other." On the 40th anniversary of their first fight, an elderly Joe Frazier was asked if he had forgiven Ali for the taunts and insults that preceded their bouts. Frazier, his speech slurred from years of punishment in the ring, considered the question carefully. "Time heals," he said finally. "What we did together, nobody else can understand. Those fights, they belong to us." The sport of boxing has seen many great rivalries since Ali Frazier, Leonard Duran, Holyfield Tyson, Pacquiao Marquez. But none have captured the perfect storm of athletic excellence, cultural significance, and personal animosity that made those three fights transcend sport. What began with disrespect at a weigh-in culminated in one of sport's greatest epics. The spit that landed on Ali's cheek that March day in 1971 set in motion a series of events that would define not just two men's careers, but an entire era of boxing history. When Muhammad Ali passed away in 2016, among the pallbearers at his funeral was Marvis Frazier, Joe's son. The circle had closed. The rivals had become brothers through their shared sacrifice. If you reached this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing and commenting where you're watching from. If this truly touched you, give back. Comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.